I always grew up with Nintendo. Up until I was about 13, I wasn't allowed to play especially violent games, which was fine for me because I loved playing Mario, Zelda, and all the other Nintendo classics, which was great because they were so child-friendly. Nintendo was basically synonymous with my youth, so it's no surprise that I developed so many lasting memories with them. Here are some of my strongest ones. If you have any strong Nintendo memories, drop a comment and let me know. Oh, and fair warning, there are spoilers for the second Paper Mario game and Super Metroid in here, plus just some really cool stuff in Super Mario Odyssey if you haven't gotten around to it yet. The last memory also gets a little weird, just a heads up. My first Metroid game was Metroid Prime 3 Corruption for the Wii, but I was very confused. I was a smart enough kid to make my way through a lot of the game, but Corruption was already the third in a trilogy of games that I'd never played before, built on a series whose conventions I was unaware of. Side note, if you've never played a Metroid game before, I really would recommend you play one before playing the Prime series. It wasn't until years later when I was a 3DS ambassador that I played my first 2D Metroid game, Metroid Fusion, and even longer until I finally played Super Metroid on a SNES Mini. I played it in an empty room at my college, over the projector with the lights off, and it was incredible. My only exposure up until this point had been watching speedruns during GDQ, but I had no real sense of how to progress other than running to the left at the start. Super Metroid is a pretty damn well-balanced game, but one fight is definitely tougher than the rest. Your face-off against Ridley in his lair. You fight Ridley during the prologue of the game when he steals the baby Metroid from you, and once you fight him again, you're finally geared up to face him head-on. I actually died the first time I fought him because I wasn't ready for how narrow his arena is, but when I came back the second time, I came back with a vengeance. I killed him on my last E-Tank, and the feeling of triumph and relief was incredible. I hope the devs behind Metroid Dread are hard at work on another because I need more Metroid in my life. Not gonna lie, generally speaking, I have really good luck in Mario Party. As such, during my birthday stream in 2021, I was playing Mario Party 4 with a few friends and, well, this happened. I got a blue.
What is this nonsense? What is this? I never get shit on that one.
Right? Rigged.
Who the
Rigged.
fuck?
Oh my God.
Happy birthday to me.
1 10 later.
Back to start. No.
Yeah.
Oh, please, please.
Roll that 9, baby.
Oh, back to start.
Back to start. Oh.
Divine retribution. Are you f***ing kidding me?
You have to be shitting me. There's no way.
Star.
Whoa.
I'm gonna kill myself.
A few moments later.
That's not the star space you
Are
You have to be kidding me.
Wow.
Okay, but there's no way.
An A
Is
button, Raglan. See what happens.
This is just
The
speed
A button,
coins. This is
Raglan.
coins. This is coins.
See what
Raglan,
happens.
hit the A button.
This is coins.
Raglan,
See what
hit the A
happens.
button.
I'm gonna kill myself.
Wow. Wow.
I still lost that round of Mario Party. Good times. F*** you, Winepot. I was just about the perfect age when the DS came out in 2004. I stuck to my Game Boy Advance for a few years, but as soon as I got the DS, I was hooked. At school, I loved talking about the DS Mario games, and was so enthralled by my collection of the handheld Mario games that I wrote Mario fanfiction for school. It was really cute. I didn't actually know the name of the enemies, so I made them up, like Captain Cactus. The coolest part of being a Nintendo kid in the mid-2000s, though, was getting to bring your DS with you on the bus rides for school field trips. I lived in Northern Virginia at the time, so we took trips to historic Jamestown, King's Dominion, and more, and we took our DSs with us to all of them. The bus was the perfect length to play with people around you, so you always tried to make sure your friends got on the same one. From there, it was a utopia of Mario Kart, PictoChat, and Child Rage. Beautiful. One of my favorite tropes in traditional adventure stories is when a bunch of people that the protagonist helped along their journey come together to support the hero in their time of need. It's like the Spirit Bomb in Dragon Ball Z, or the ending of the second Paper Mario game. I love the uplifting and unified tone that it brings to the climax, and it's a wonderful reminder of the journey you've completed and the colorful cast of characters you helped along the way. The music that plays on top of this scene is also just so heartwarming, and I always tear up listening to it. I just love that it's an unabashedly sincere moment in what's otherwise a pretty silly game. If you're a Mario fan and you haven't played the first 2 Paper Mario games, I highly recommend them. Hi! If you're liking the video so far, I'd really appreciate if you could drop a like and a sub. As of the month this video goes up, I was laid off from my job, and I really want to make more YouTube videos for you all. Subscribing really helps with that. I would really appreciate it. Alright, on to the rest. Nintendo has always been my choice of the big three. Not to say that I dislike Sony or Microsoft, just that the history and diversified polished mechanics found in Nintendo's games have always captivated my attention like no others have. Nowhere is this more clear than in Super Smash Bros., a series so incredibly designed and directed that it's really the only game I know of where both casual and hyper-competitive players can play together and both have a great time. There are always going to be exciting game modes to play or hype moments to shout about, and few feel as awesome as a well-executed Falcon Punch! Like the DS field trips, there's no one Falcon Punch that comes to mind, but it perfectly encapsulates some of my most formative years playing 64 and Melee as a child, all the way to late nights playing Ultimate in college. Every Smash features Captain Falcon, and you can bet that every successful, off-the-cuff Falcon Punch is gonna make me cheer. You may be familiar with this classic relic of an era past. This would have been almost 30 years ago, by the way. Well, on Christmas morning in 2007, that was basically me. I remember accidentally opening a present containing a Wii Classic controller before I opened the actual Wii itself, so I was practically shivering with excitement, up until I actually found and opened it. I was so elated that I didn't even answer when asked about what it was, just clutched onto it like a life preserver in a sea of gift wrap. That winter was spent playing Wii Sports, Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games, and my favorite of the bunch, Super Paper Mario. It was a sort of childlike wonder that you experience much fewer times as an adult, and I'll always look back on it fondly. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a sucker for nostalgia, when done well. Let me know if you guys want a video where I scream about Ready Player One, because I will make it. And Super Mario Odyssey is loaded with it. The game drips with love and respect for its roots, featuring costumes from obscure moments in Mario's past and an incredible Super Mario 64 illusion. But for me, the part that wrapped everything up nicely was the New Donk City Festival. It's another perfect example of Nintendo polish and just how deep Nintendo has its roots in gaming history. The gameplay is a blend of Donkey Kong and Super Mario Bros., but it also clearly has a dash of Super Mario Galaxy. The energy of the entire event is vibrant and exhilarating, and listening to Kate Higgins' performance as Pauline, it's hard not to jump up, superstar. Right when the lockdown hit in March 2020, Nintendo had arguably either the best or worst release window for Animal Crossing New Horizons. After over 7 years of waiting, not only were diehard fans ravenous for a new entry in the series, but also the general public writ large. I was one of those people, even picking up the Animal Crossing Switch with my real job money that I had at the time, and had a blast with the game.
Until the blasphemous one ascended from the pits of hell to ravage our islands with his fiendish
eggs. They were eggs, it was Zipper. One of the most alleviating aspects of the game, which I touched upon in my Farming RPGs video, was the ability to fly out and visit other players' islands. While visiting, you could go fishing, trap each other in holes, and basically running around doing nothing because the online was so bare bones. One of my favorite lockdown memories, though, was using Animal Crossing to reconnect with a friend of mine, who was one of those diehard fans during the New Leaf days. We don't really play Animal Crossing anymore, but it was really nice to get back in touch after all those years, and also for them to let me get so many DIY cards. If you're watching this, thank you so much. There are a lot of moments in video games, and especially Nintendo games, that I would describe as magical. Nearing the summit in Celeste, your heart refusing in Undertale, obtaining the Hyper Beam in Super Metroid, the aforementioned Paper Mario boss fight, and again, just like the Paper Mario boss fight, most of these moments are near the climax of the games. They're a culmination and conclusion to the emotional arcs that you and the character you were playing as went through as you played the game. However, one of these magical moments that stuck with me was actually at the beginning of the game, one of the greatest of all time, Breath of the Wild. Leading up to Breath of the Wild, fans were optimistically cautious. The game had a seemingly bumpy production lifecycle, skipping the Wii U that it was intended for, but always impressing during gameplay demos. Side note, I just took a moment to watch this trailer again, and oh my god, I still tear up watching it. Fans were eager to step out into this new Hyrule that they'd been waiting for years to get their hands on. I think I speak for a lot of people, millions of people, when I say that waking up in the Shrine of Resurrection and stepping out into the sunlight onto that first cliffside was truly magical. Okay, so this is such a weirdly core memory for me, and it's also a Zelda memory, and no, I'm not sorry. Fair warning that while this is the memory that stuck with me the most, it also has some important and bizarre context, and there's a very brief section about blood. When I was about 9 years old, back in 2007, there was a big snowstorm, and I wanted to go sledding, so I did. There was this deep, sort of inverted drainage hill in my neighborhood, and it was perfect for sledding down. Halfway down the largest side, there was a slight bump, so if you made a ramp there, you'd get huge air. At least, huge air for a 9-year-old. I had a blast sledding until this even smaller kid showed up with his mom. He had to have been no bigger than like 5 years old, and he was bundled up like the younger brother from A Christmas Story.
I can't put my arms out!
He also had a sled, and his mom was helping him for what may have been his first time sledding. There were definitely edges of the hill that had smaller, more appropriate paths to sled down, but for some reason she chose the long side with the bump in the ramp. I watched in shock and awe as he raced down, flew into the air, and landed vertically, the bottoms of his feet hitting the ground first. He started crying and blood gushed out of his mouth. I think when he hit the ground he may have bit his tongue? His mom ran down the hill to look after him, and I guess scared would be the best way to put it, kind of just shocked. I was a dumb kid and I didn't know how to process what I'd seen, so I sort of just went home after that and let it stew for a bit. When I got home, I was cold, wet, and shocked, so I went up to my room, got out of my wet clothes, grabbed a blanket, and booted up my Gamecube. I was playing The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker at the time, my first Zelda game, and coincidentally I had just made it to Dragon Roost Island. I spent the rest of the day exploring the caverns, warming up to the lava and slowly melting away the fear. The weird mix and contrast of emotions is why I had to change this list from my favorite Nintendo memories to my strongest, because it's not entirely a good memory, but it's so emblematic of the type of comfort that games can provide, especially as children when processing emotions is more difficult. But those are just my memories. And now I want to hear from you! What are some of your strongest memories as a Nintendo fan? Thank you so much to my ever lovely royal subjects over on my Ko-fi. If you want to become one of my royal subjects, you too can support me over on Ko-fi. The link is in the description. I'll see you all later. Fare thee well.